Hi everyone, it's Margaret Manning here. Welcome to Mornings with 60 and Me. Today is Saturday, it's November the 19th. Hope that you're having a great weekend so far. I don't know what you've got planned. I hope you're doing something fun that brings you joy, brings you happiness in your life. Maybe spending time with family, friends. It's getting close to the holiday season now, so I'm sure there's lots of activities, fairs and markets, things to do and go to. So I hope you're having a great weekend. I have got my cup of tea this morning. I am drinking cherry tea this morning. I wanted something kind of fruity and bright and energizing, so I chose cherry. And so grab a cup of tea or coffee and I'll sit down. And today I want to talk to you about something that is very near and dear to my heart. And I think that you're going to find it resonates with you as well. In terms of 60andMe's mission in life, one of our goals is to challenge stereotypes and to empower women to do things in their 60s that will bring them joy and happiness and give them opportunity. And I look back on our lives and I think that there's often a very incorrect stereotype that women over 60 are weak and invisible and powerless, and that we are dealing with changes that give us that sort of invisibility. But in reality, when I think back, we are probably one of the strongest generations of women ever. We have had so much opportunity that other people, that people before us did not have. But we've also faced a lot of discrimination, a lot of issues in life that have held us back, and we've just kept on going. And one of the areas that I think people don't often realize is the kinds of jobs we did when we got started with our careers. I imagine that most of you did not continue in the career that was your first job, although I'm sure that there probably are some of you there that got that little spark that I love this is what I want to do all my life. But for the most part, I think a lot of us did jobs that required compromise and determination and resilience, and it shaped us. Those experiences really shaped us. And the first experience in the workplace, forged our personalities. It gave us character. And I think an ethic and a value system that has stayed with us until today. So a little while ago, I asked everyone in our 60andMe community to share what their first jobs were. And I just thought the answers were so interesting. Many of them were really funny, and some were heartbreaking. Others just brought out a lot of emotion. So I would like to take some time today to just go through some of the answers that women in our community gave us about their first jobs. What was your first paying job? And what did you learn? That was the question that I posed. And then as we're going through this, I just would like you to think about what your first job was. And I'm going to ask you to share it with us. But for now, let's just kind of ramble through. I mean, there were literally hundreds of answers to this question. So I'm going to just go through, I don't know, maybe 20 or so. I'll just go through them randomly here and tell you what people did. See if it resonates with you. All right, so I'm going to be looking down here as I read some of these because some of them are a little long. So Rena Sue, my first job was in a dime store behind the candy counter. I learned to eat candy fast and furious. I also learned I didn't want to live in a small town all my life and got out as fast as I could. Christine said, I was an office junior and I earned $5 a week. I learned to get what you want, you have to work hard. Another person, this is funny, Kathy says, I was a gift wrapper in a department store at Christmas time, and I learned to hate people who bought umbrellas as a gift. You had to wrap them. That's right. Now, Jerry said, I got a job dipping ice cream when I was 15. I learned to work hard. I learned about perseverance. Rana was like probably maybe 20% of the people who responded was a babysitter. She said, I did babysitting. I learned how to fluff up the cookie jars and where to find the sex reports like Kinsey and Masters and Johnson. That was her experience as a babysitter. I did babysitting too, and I had some experiences that were strange and wonderful too. Jean worked as a car hop in 1954, and she received, wait for it, 15 cents an hour. She said, I thought I was rich. Just goes to show your attitude, doesn't it? Deirdre, she said, I did outwork putting together TV parts. This was to save money for a trip to Spain, which cost $25 for everything, the flight, hotel, and food. This one kind of broke my heart a bit. It was, yeah, just what we do. We have to do. We want to earn money. Andy, she said, I worked as an egg picker at 16 for $1.90 an hour. In the wintertime, the hen houses were so cold and the eggs were frozen solid. I used to wear fingerless gloves to keep my hands warm. You can imagine what a job that was. Lorraine said, I was a sales clerk in a clothing store. She said it lasted 2 weeks. They wanted me to sell the clothes whether it flattered the wearer or not. I just could not live with the lying. Now, this is an example. You know, these kinds of jobs shaped who we were. They said what you felt about your life and about your truth, what your truth was, and how, you know, that can be really, really challenging sometimes. Now, Carly was an A&W car hop. Remember those? If you lived in the States, you knew what A&W was. It's a root beer. It was a little outdoor cafe where you sat in your car and the car hops came out to you with a little tray, and they rollerbladed or roller skated up to your car, put the tray on the window, and then that was their job. But Carly was an A&W car hop, and she said that she learned the laws of gravity. Every time someone grabbed the root beer off the tray and the weight reduced and it tipped. Car hop, great, very classic. That's a classic one, isn't it? Sandra said, I was a cleaner. She said, I would have preferred to have stayed at school, but I didn't have enough money. It made me a stronger person. Someone else, let's have a look here. Jan worked in a convent as a kitchen maid, and she looked after the nuns, got $5 a week. Phyllis worked as a clerk in a small clothing store. She learned never to take a job where she had to stand on her feet all day. I don't know what she ended up doing, but retail's hard. I did retail for many of my years as well, so that was hard. Joanne says that her first job was at 16 when she was worked in Eaton's department store. I think that's in Canada, and she says she saved for weeks and weeks and weeks and bought a suede jacket. I coveted it forever. This is Anne. She says she worked at Dipper Dan. I don't know what Dipper Dan is. I think it's an ice cream parlor. And she said, I learned that if you eat too much ice cream, it dulls your desire for it forever. Maggie said that at 17, she stood on a corner in New York City handing out U.S. flags on Flag Day. That was her first paid job. She said, Pamela said, my first job was working for a dairy farmer. And I said, what did I learn from it? Never to work as a land girl again. She became a nurse. And I'm still waiting for one here that tells me that she stayed on in the job. But so Marilyn said that while in high school, she had a job sewing on buttons. And she learned that she hated any form of sewing and had the confidence to quit. Now that says something right there, because when you are in that first job, that's where you're defining what you do well. You know, you're either good at something or you hate it. And if you have the courage to stop and say no to something that you don't like, that's actually, I think, a quality that you carry through your life. So I think that's really, really, really cool. Just a couple more here. Elaine said, my very first paying job at 15 was babysitting for 3 families. It toughened me up. Another one is, Phyllis said, my first job was a waitress, and it taught me that it was not a job that I wanted for the rest of my life. She says, but from now on, I'm a good tipper because I know how hard it is to do that job. And that's actually true for me too. I was in sales for many, many years, and it's actually been really hard for me when someone tries to sell me something, you know, something I don't even really need, because I know how hard it is to sell. And to do like a cold call where you have to go up to a stranger or, you know, just do something, you don't know the person. And I always say to people sometimes when I don't want to buy something, I always say, you know, I really appreciate what a tough job you've got. And I wish I had a need for that thing, but I don't. So just keep going though, and give them encouragement. Because in a way, any job we do, we're selling something, and selling is tough. Now, you had another person, Jan, was talking about being a waitress, and she was a waitress to mostly men. It was a cafe, and she said, you know, you learned how to flirt. And she said, if I joked with the guys, my tips improved. And so she learned the power of the feminine power. So I think that's really cool. And Janie said she joined the Air Force when she was 18, and she learned about life and independence. And these are lessons that have remained with her for all of her life. Babysitting, lots of babysitting. I think there's another one here which was kind of, this is a sad one too. And this just goes to show how our childhood affects us. This is by Lynn. She says she worked in a poultry house for $1 a day. She said, I smelled so bad at the end of the day that my dad wouldn't let me drive in the car. He would ride alongside me as I walked home. Wow. That's kind of sad, but she said, my grandfather sold fishing worms, 100 to a box. We got a nickel for each box, and I had to count 100 worms for each box. I was 9. It taught me to work really hard. My first job was, this is Janice, she says that her first job was working in her uncle's store and gas station. She made $1 a week, and gasoline was 30 cents a gallon. I mean, as we're talking, you get this nostalgia, don't you, for how life used to be 50 years ago or 45 years ago? Not easy. And Carrie was an Avon door to door. She learned to stand her ground and demand my money. Selling, it's hard. Let's see. Sandra worked as a nurse's aide. She learned how to care for people and how to have compassion. She also learned strength, courage, and most importantly, how to be part of a team. So that was really cool. So a lot of people here, I don't think we've come across one, and I printed off most of these. People that learn skills that they carried on with through their whole life. Patricia did counter cooking and serving at Dairy Queen for $1.25 an hour. It taught her interpersonal skills and how to deal with any crisis situation. I can only imagine what she went through, but that's what she did. And now this is one. Now this is Carol. She worked as a reporter on a weekly newspaper. And she was making $1 an hour, and she went on to have a 50-year career as a writer-editor. So there's someone who had a spark of what she wanted to do from the very beginning and carried on for 50 years of her life. So that was Carol. And that's it. I'm going to stop there because there are many, many more, but I hope that that's given you some inspiration, some thought about what you did for your first paying job, what it taught you, what you learned, and whether you stayed with it through your whole life. It'd be really interesting to have a conversation about that. So I'd like to close, first of all, by saying thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being the strong, independent, and powerful women that you were when you started working and what you are today. Nothing's changed. You are yourself. You've had a few knocks. Yes, you've had some challenges and loss. Yes, life is hard. It's maybe harder than you thought it would be, but you're still that woman. You're still that proud and strong woman. So, question is, what was your first paying job, and what did you learn? What was your first paying job, and what did you learn? Just leave your comments in the section below. We'll have a great conversation on this one, and I invite you all to come back here tomorrow for Mornings with 60 and Me. Take good care, everybody. Bye-bye for now.